Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced. Today I'm going to show you the concept of slow death in chess, and today I'm going to show you a game which resembles exactly that. This game was played in Tal in Estonia, and with the white pieces we have the magician Mikhail Tal, and with the black pieces we have Paul Keres, one of the players, or one of the only players in his time who had a positive score against Mikhail Tal. So this game is going to be one insane game because when the position is dead, the slow death is basically when your position is just so bad that slowly but surely your position is just going to crumble, and there is no point in playing like 20 moves forward when you're just about to lose. So player just resigns either than playing the game. So without further ado, let's just start with this game, because when I show you, you can understand. Here we have e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5, going for the Ruy Lopez, a6, Morphy's defense, and we have this bishop to a4, knight to f6, and just castle. We have bishop to e7, rook to e1, and b5, just immediately going for that bishop. Now the bishop moves back. We have d6, but now just c3 as the idea, and the knight jumps. Knight jumps here or here or here, not there obviously, here or here depending on the position. And we have castles, h3, and bishop to knight to d7. A very nice move, because here you might be interested in pushing those pawns. We have d4 immediately striking in the center. If your player is going to attack on the king side, it's better if you strike in the center. And here knight bishop to f6, but now just comes a4, and we have bishop to b7, a captures, rook captures, queen captures, but now just immediately striking in the center with this beautiful d5. Now again, knight to a5 attacking the bishop, which is the most standard idea, that coming as being pushed either way. And here just bishop to c2, rook to b8, and now there might be some ideas of pushing this on in the line in the future, but here just knight to a3, and here bishop to a6, but now just comes this very nice b4, not allowing any pushes, but it gives a very nice square to the knight, and knight is going to utilize this. Knight to c4, but here just knight captures, b captures, and here bishop to a4, just attacking the knight. Knight moves with an attack to the bishop, bishop to c6 attacking the queen, bishop to b7, and now you have to trade. Bishop captures, queen captures, and here bishop to e3, just trying to put some pressure on that knight. And here rook to a8 was played, just grabbing the hold of this very nice open file, and open files are the things that's going to get you victory. Here queen to e2, but here just queen to a6. We have knight to d2, knight to a4, knight captures on c4, and once you grab this pawn, black is just going to grab this pawn because that's free. Knight captures, that also comes with an attack on the queen, so queen needs to move. Queen to d3, but just knight to b5. And here knight to a5 was played, just getting the knight to this very nice square. And in this position you have to be very much careful, because you have to understand that once this file is completed, this pawn structure is going to be very much good. You're going to be left with a weak pawn structure which you cannot defend, and once the queen and the rook get there, it's going to get very much difficult to hold this. Hey, the move that you have to find in this position is knight to d4. Yes, it looks scary because you're just maybe just creating another weak pawn, because here after queen caps on a6, first you trade queens, rook captures, bishop captures on d4, e captures. This might seem like a weak pawn, but how do you eliminate it? Here rook to c1 would have been played, but here after rook to a7 you play rook to d1, g6, king to f1, and after bishop to e5, just slowly but surely you'll see that the uh, white pieces are going to progress, and you can see that this is also going to come. And here once you play that, bishop moves back, but even if you get the king there, let's just move the king there, right? So you can see that this pawn is going to fall. It's going to be very much difficult to defend it, but here just after, but you're going to lose this b4 pawn as well. So rook caps on b4, king caps on c7, now you go d3, just trying to push your pawn, but here just king caps on d6. Now white has a pass pawn of his own. So rook caps on f4, but here just rook caps on d3, and after rook to e4, now you play this king to c5, bishop caps on h4, but now comes this d6, and it seems like it's impossible to stop this, but this comes under the bishop's shadow, and at the end maybe you can just sacrifice the piece if all the pawns are eliminated. So here after rook to e5, you play rook to d5, not trading rooks. If you trade rooks, you're completely dead lost. So here just rook caps on f5, but now just come rook caps on h3. Now there is just this pawn, and that can also be stopped. In a way it can be stopped, but only person who's going to be pushing for a win in this position is definitely going to be white. But here after knight to a5, that was the best that you could extract out of this position as black. I mean, there is nothing that you can do. But here h6 was played, but now it's a very different story, because now you've missed a tempo, and now just rook to c1, and now attacking the weak link of the pawn chain. And here rook to b8, but now just comes this knight to c6, getting the knight to this very nice square. I mean, that was the idea all along. Rook to 8, but just knight to a5, and here rook to b8, queen to e2, bishop to d6, but just g3. We have bishop to f6, h4, king to h7, and here just king to g2. We have this king to g8. Both players are repeating moves. I don't know why, but it's just slowly making progress. Queen to d3, king to f8, queen to f1, king to g8, queen to e2, bishop to d8. But here just queen to d3, bishop to f6, queen to f1, h5, and here rook to a1 and rook to e8, queen to c4, g6. But here queen to e2 was played, and believe me, but in this position with the black pieces, Paul Keres resigned the game. And I mean, this is absolutely insane. But when you consider the idea why he resigned, is simply because of the fact there is no moves his pieces can play. If you go back and forth constantly, slowly but surely, white is going to push those pawns, and even white doesn't even have to push those pawns. All white has to do is just exchange queens, get the rook here, just put some pressure on that. This knight is not going anywhere. I mean, with this pawn structure, you have to understand that this knight doesn't have any squares to go to. If you go here, then I just gobble it up. After pawn captures, it's gonna be a very weak pawn. And you're gonna have to understand that after I play f3, my pawn chain is gonna be absolutely unbreakable. You're gonna have a weak pawn. You don't even have a light squared bishop to try and attack me. I'm just gonna go put my king on h3, try to slowly just gobble up your pawns, and it's going to be a very painful slow death. And that's what he realized. But I'm not just going to leave you hanging. I'm going to show you a line on why it absolutely sucks to be trapped in a, a slow death kind of game. Because let's say you play king to g7, now comes queen to f1, king to g8, now comes knight to c6. Now if you queen to b7, now rook to a5. You can see that slowly but surely all those pieces are making progress. Now knight is under attack, so you have to move it. So knight to d4, the place where we didn't want to put the knight, because we could have done so like moves ago, but we didn't, because the position actually crumbles after that. So here rook to a7, attacking the queen. Queen moves back, now f3, just getting this very nice pawn chain. But now comes bishop to g7, and now bishop captures, e captures, queen to c4, just putting some pressure. Now you can actually capture it, but here king to h7, there is no point in actually capturing it, because your knight is much stronger piece. It's like holding off to so many squares where queen and the rook cannot go to. So it's a much stronger piece than this. I mean, this is just locked in here. b5, and now you understand, after rook to f8, I play queen to a4, rook to e8, b6, c captures. But now comes rook caps on f7, and here after rook to f8, you don't trade rooks because you're in a much better position. Rook to f6, but queen caps on d4. Now finally going for that trade. Now trying to go for this, but now just comes rook to a3, just defending against that b5. But here just queen moves, and here once the rook moves, now you gobble up that pawn as well. Rook to c7, rook to a2, bishop to f6, but just queen to b8, asking for a queen trade. Queen captures, knight captures, and here once the bishop goes here, now you go back. And yes, rook cannot come in through here, but yes, rook can come through this file, and then slowly but surely harass the king from behind. And here after bishop to c5, and here after a move like rook to b2, now you're gonna play king to g7, and you can already see that you're just down way too many pawns. I mean, you're down 2 pawns, and not only that, you where is the rook gonna move? My rook covers the entirety of this file, knight covers this square. You're gonna have to push back, maybe just get it here, and maybe try to get it here and attack. What pawns? All pawns are defended, and in doing so, you're gonna weaken further pawns, and you're gonna lose more pawns. And this is what's called the slow death in chess. I mean, it's just impossible to do anything in this position. Eventually the position is going to crumble, but it's going to crumble apart 20 moves later. So rather than this, it was just on move 22, after queen to e2, realizing all of this, that Paul Keres resigned the game. And this is actually very few very few wins Tal has got against Paul Keres, and this is absolutely one of them. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with such amazing games, so stay tuned to the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you all.